Hi. Thank you, everyone. And again, we are here at Embedded World in 2025, and AAEON this year is proud to present how we can build secure connected products together with our partner Exein. And here is the CEO of Exein, Gianni.
Hi everybody.
So, very brief introduction. I don't want to bore you too much. We are AAEON. We are an embedded ODM and OEM company from Taiwan with 850 employees, founded in 1992. But now with a global presence with more than 70 locations and growing to support our global customer base. Our customer range from any kind of verticals, spanning from robotics to transportation, manufacturing, retail, and so on. And I'm Daniele Clery, software and engineering manager for AAEON Europe, the European branch that covers and supports all our European customers. And we support our broad range of products, from industrial embedded boards to industrial systems, including a ruggedized tablet, and a special mention to our app product line, which is a specific product line more aimed at developers and professional developers for AI and IoT. Of course, we develop our products together with software and solution partners like Exein, especially for the security part. We are committed to provide secure solution to our customers, and we do everything we can on the hardware side to support it. For this, we implement design security by design, and to protect against any kind of threat, we include every kind of hardware chip that we can, so that the customer can leverage in their systems, from cryptographic engine to TPM modules. But of course, we collaborate with industry partners to make sure the security of our product is at its maximum. And of course, we try to, and we aim to comply with the latest regulatory requirements, which you may have heard of also. Cyber Resilient Act is the last one. So we work together with leading security provider as Exein to integrate the latest cutting-edge security technologies, so that our customer can ensure to have secure connected products for their solutions. I leave now the rest to Gianni. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Thank you, Daniele. It's been a pleasure for us to be here. We are Exein. We are an embedded cybersecurity company. Some of us, it's for us it's really important to tell you more about how we integrate with AAEON and what's the solution that we are building. So just a few words about the company. We've been founded in 2018. We had our headquarters in Rome, but we have already a global presence. We are in Rome, Karlsruhe, San Francisco, and Taipei. So we just brought global coverage. Right now, Exein is the largest runtime security agent on the market right now. We have more than 1 billion devices running our solution daily. So we have a pretty extensive coverage of solution and various markets that we serve. About 50 people across multiple locations that we have. And as by now, we exposed already 1 million high severity vulnerability across devices, and especially focusing on BSP and patching of BSP. So why it's important, IoT security landscape? I think every one of you knows that till now, most of the IoT security was on the consumer side. We basically, everybody in embedded was mostly focusing on making things work, and then the security was mostly responsibility of the final user. In the last years, things has changed. First, because of market is asking producers to take on more responsibility, and also because the regulation environment is becoming stricter and stricter. So we have in Europe the CRA, we have various ISOs in the world, so like the 262, the 443, and the red will also include some cybersecurity requirements. And also in US, there's the Cyber Trust Mark, this CTM that is going to change. In Far East, we have Korean regulation on connected systems, Taiwanese one, Japanese. So the world is shifting toward a more and more responsibility of the manufacturers. and we are here to help manufacture with an easy-to-use integrations feature inside their system. So why Exein? What are the core strengths? First of all, first, we are an embedded first company, which means that we didn't port anything from the cloud space of the server space back to embedded system. We design everything ground up with embedded in mind, with also the limitation of embedded system. And then we work with AAEON because as they know how sometimes there are limitations in the embedded market that in server space or endpoint space you basically don't have. But in embedded space, we need to fix and we need to work with the operational environment in which we work with. Second, we are the fastest ADR on the market. What I mean by fastest and the lightest, we are build everything in Rust using eBBF technology. eBBF is part of the Linux kernel, so it's a vanilla Linux kernel feature, and we run directly without patching the kernel. So no LKM, no LSM, no change to the vanilla kernel. Everything is run natively, blazing fast. We are 5 times smaller than any other ADR on the market right now. We cover from the designing phase with our CI/CD integration to the runtime phase. So when you deploy actually the solution to the market. Easy adoption, very easy to integrate. As Daniele can testify you, our integration was very easy and very smooth because they provided the hardware platform, they provided the base BSP. We basically are a Yocto receipt if you are using Yocto, as we suggest warmly to do. Or if you're using OpenWRT or other building system, we are very easy to integrate, or any other Linux-based solution. We work both on Linux embedded system and real-time operating system. Windows is coming next. It really depends if the new releases of Windows will have enabling eBBF solution side. But you always know that Microsoft is not very huge in this market, so we tend to focus on the 95% of the market, which is Linux embedded systems and MCU RTOS-based systems. We use AGI. I know that today everybody's AI something. The people come here and say AI this, AI that. We are doing AI since 2019 now. We are hiring most of the TinyML library core developers. They are part of our team now. So also we are big in the open source solution and open source space. So we use TinyML, but also we contribute to TinyML license. So if some of you is using TinyML, it's also because we contributed to it. So what we actually do, so we have two, as I said, we have two products. One product is the runtime, one product is the analyzer part. Runtime is focusing on an approach which is deploy and forget. So you compile your BSP with Exein inside, and then Exein auto-adapts to your operational environment. You may say to us, well, we can use Linux, we can use canonical like Uppermore, stuff like this. The problem with all solutions is that Linux is purely based on static rules, which means that you have to hard-code the static rules before. And there is a big difference between deploying a server with static rules and deploying an embedded system with static rules. When you deploy your own server, you know exactly the operational environment in which you will use this server. When you make an embedded system, you have to build one single firmware image that you have no control on when it will be operated. So sometimes be too strict on security rules can cause a network misconfiguration and other problems. Our system overcomes this problem and adapts to the operational environment. The second platform in which we work is Analyzer. Analyzer is basically a CI/CD integration. While you are building your firmware image and your software application, your embedded software application, we can check if you are doing a good work in terms of security by looking at the configuration, looking at CV, fixing your CV, and looking while you are building if the final product that you will have will be compatible or not compatible with certain regulation, such as CRA, such as various ISO that we cover, RED and others. So yeah, using Exein Analyzer is very easy. So you have the manual way or CI/CD integration way. CI/CD integration is basically API that you can call by your building environment, or you can do manual. You just have to upload the firmware image and we will auto scan. We don't have need to access the source code of yours. Everything is working on the binary, so we decompile the binary and we analyze exactly what's inside the system. Then you will get a vulnerability report and we can auto-generate fix for you. I just want to stress this point. We will not deploy patch for you. Why we don't deploy patch for you? Because auto-deployment of patch is dangerous. So we can help you at 80%, you have to just put the 20%. But it's really important that we are not here selling wizardry. We will not be here saying, we will do completely, we auto-manage everything for you. No, this solution doesn't work by itself because the training in which most of the module, the generative LLM modules are based on web technology, not on low-level technology. So you cannot expect the same precision. So what we do is that we cover you 80%, but of course we encourage you to check. But we fix the most common problem that you can have. And as I was saying, we basically we can check while you are building if your final product will be compatible or not with certain regulation that you may face in fact. And we integrated the CI/CD integration in AAEON's one, so the AAEON's clients already can achieve and have access to the natively to our solution that we built here. But you know, our really point of excellence is the runtime agent. So why we say this? So first of all, because as we said, this is the lightest ADR, autonomous ADR on the market right now. It's really, we are using all the latest and greatest technology in the field. Everything you see here is written on Rust. We are using eBBF. We are looking at every single syscall and every single hook related to each syscall of each process ID. This is the most granular overview on how a system is executing that you can find right now in the market. Some of those solutions we release at the open source. As I said, we are very close to open source environment because we are part of the Yocto project. We are also contributing to the Yocto project and to many other projects. And of course, we like open source because if you buy something security, you have to have the transparency of what we do. Do not trust any closed source security building solution. Don't do it. I mean, because you have no control of a pre-built environment that has root access to your machine. You should not do it. So every time, even if you will not work with us, which we encourage you to do so, but if you will not work with us, do not work with any closed source security vendor out there. Because this is not how embedded cybersecurity can evolve with a security by security. So this is a concept that is way past in the field. So if somebody of you is interested, they can go on our GitHub. There is a documentation about what I'm going to explain, and you can play it around, look at what we do on the code, and just appreciating the fact that we are trying to also contribute to the overall open sources environment. But so what is runtime doing? Basically, we do eBBF proofs on the most sensitive things that an embedded system has, especially if it's an embedded system, so which we basically look at the threat modeling of the system. So what's the difference between an attack on an embedded system and on a server system? It's basically the vector of attacks is really different. In a server market, you have open ports threat modeling. So everybody can connect to this server because it's the whole concept of a server is to accept connection. While in embedded market, in embedded devices, the overall concept of security is to restrain the vector of connection rather than expand the vector of connection. So our solution is tailored to the threat modeling that we find on embedded system. That's why I was saying that it's very important that we didn't port any other solution from the server space to the embedded space, but this is designed specifically for embedded space. So what we look the three major pillars in which we build our solution is looking at the eBBF pros of the file system, the networking, and the syscall. So we basically look how your system should execute every single process. And we try to understand what will be the next resource in scheduler that your process will be asking through looking at the timestamp of syscall and hooks. So why this is important? Embedded system has, tend to be very recursive systems. So if you have building an IP camera, the IP camera will execute the task in a specific timestamp. So at a granular view, we can observe how the low-level system is executing in a defined timestamp. Just giving an example, if you are using Light HTTP as a web server and your Light HTTP is trying to evoke some resources that are not in scheduler or are not seen before of this specific process, we will notice and we will flag as an alert. And then if we see other alerts in other part of the system at the same time, we then define an attack. We can look at up to 50,000 events per second in less than 1% of CPU overhead. This is on a 300 megahertz single clock system. So very, very lightweight. As you know, most of you, I think, is using a multi-core solution. And so this is as small as we can get. Then we can create on-the-fly rules, security rules, that actually are generated on the fly, and they are pushed into the SecComp. SecComp is the security component of Linux, and the SecComp actually triggered the LSM, so the Linux security model. So some of you, the more techy of you, can say, okay, this is exactly what Linux is doing. The difference is that in Linux, you have to hard coding those policies. We can generate automatically these policies. And when we say we generate automatically these policies, means that there is no human interaction. Everything you see here, it's autonomously on the device, on the edge. Everything is by themselves. So we have a static rule, a baseline of rules, which follows the Mitre, OWASP, or other security framework. And then we have the dynamic generation of rules that runs on top of it. And then we can have the threat events that are speaking to the event bus. The event bus have the ability also to see what's happening and what will happen, so we can kill the process and regenerate the process and make it run by itself. In open source, our open source version, you will find everything that is tracking process, and the closed source, which is the one we make money of, because I have to pay also salaries, is the security part that we run on top of it. What we see pretty much everything you can imagine. So I really suggest you to come also on our booth to see the demos. So we can have all the graphs of the attacks, knowing all the process, all the files that have been compromised, where they come from, and auto-quarantinize the object. In case your system is using by a client that is using Splunk or other CM or other SOAR, your system can directly send threat information intelligence to the local CM and local SOAR. What this means is that we basically change the concept of centralized security while shifting to a more decentralized security in which every single device is part of the security network and the security what is called the swarming security approach, in which every device is part of the threat intelligence information sharing of all the device that is running on a single network. As I said, that's the technology we're using. We're using Rust, we're using eBPF, Edge AI, and the Llama. I know everybody is saying, oh, generative AI, here you come, the bullshit. Yeah, I can understand that because many of you know this, but we use Llama only to making it easy to read the reports. Okay, so it's not effectively running on the system because it's not safe to run those systems because it adds too much uncertainty on the system itself. This is only used to help you to understand better the raw data that we have because, of course, we export a lot of data. We collaborate with Yocto. We have Marco Cavallini here that is one of the ambassador of Yocto. So we collaborate a lot with the Yocto system and integration. We also have a partnership with MediaTek. Some of you know this, where we integrate our system directly in the production itself, which means that we in the BSP that you will buy from as a standard reference from MediaTek, we will be already integrating. And with ION, we are doing the same. So, but of course, with ION is a much more higher level with other architecture on that end. Why Exein? Because basically we are standard the reference of everything you work with. So when you decide to build a device, you're starting by choosing the hardware platform and of course the operating system, and then you choose which ODM or OEM will build your devices. We work with pretty much all hardware platforms that are in the market, and with some of them we have also close partnerships. And also we work with the major ODM in the market, and ION is of course one of them. If the most principal in which we like to work also because Daniela, we have a really good relation with Daniela, and they are very good. You know, we see a lot of software. I must say they are very good. You know, others, I cannot say the same, but whatever, forget what I say. And then, of course, we work on most the operating system, the most biggest one. So, of course, Yocto is not an operating system, it's a building system, but it's, of course, part of the building system that is running on Linux and stuff. Zephyr, FreeRTOS. So basically, every time before you get to market, you have to make a choice. Exein is there. Why now? Why it's important? So we start working on Exein in 2018 when the compliance concept was mostly for certain markets such as healthcare and something in automotive. Now compliance has become the big part of the cybersecurity and embedded space. My personal take on this is that the problem with OEMs was that the OEMs prayed that this time never come, but it comes eventually. And now it's time to share responsibility with the customers. You know, we cannot expect that the customers of OEMs and ODMs will take full responsibility on cybersecurity because they simply doesn't have the budget. They don't want to. They prefer to pay you a little bit more, but having a security feature directly on the device that you are shipping to them, rather than have to choose a technology, run the technology, and also having the people to execute this technology. Because as in other sector that you are also involved, there is a huge talent shortage in that field. So everybody now is pushing to have ODMs taking the responsibility, and we are pleased to say that ION was one of the first who stepped in and say, okay, let's work together because we want to provide already these services with this integration to our customers, and we are happily working with them. So thank you. If any of you wants to see a demo or just having a sip of Italian red wine, we are at Hall 5 at booth 270. So even if you don't want to see the demo and you don't have to pretend, just come for the wine, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Gianni. Thank you for the great presentation. And also, we have our booth in Hall 1, booth 306. Also there is a demo with the Exein solution showcase at our booth. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.
If there are any questions.
If you have any questions yet now, we are happy to take it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
What's the business and licensing model of Exein?
Yep.
And how much are you resistant or prone to attacks that can compromise the operating system itself and hence steer down your runtime?
Yeah, so our business model is based per device. So the more device you connect to the platform, the more, and by platform we don't mean our platform, but we can also install this platform to your solution, to your servers. It really depends how much we can go to a minimum package of 500 to a maximum. Actually, there is no maximum. We would love to have a maximum, but you know, we can go to a minimum of 500 up to 10 million devices. We have clients with 10 million devices connected, and it works license per device. And those devices actually it goes down the more device you kick in the platform. And in terms of the second question, it really depends. I mean, I will not come here and say we stop all the attacks, because otherwise I will, just say just blatant lie, because all the attacks are unknown attacks. What is our job is to making more difficult to execute an attack on you. In the embedded market, most of the attacks are kernel exploitation or vulnerability on third-party dependencies. Like you using I don't know, web server or FFmpeg. Hopefully nobody's from FFmpeg here. FFmpeg driver codec that can bring some vulnerabilities inside, and now we leverage the risk of those solutions by targeting. Of course, very complex attacks, specifically complex attack, I cannot say you that we cover 100%. Will be a lie, but Exein will not tell you, but everybody who will tell you the same will be lying. We are building the most robust and granular review in order to understand an attack, even if we don't recognize this as an attack. Because we use a reverse training procedure. What is reverse training? We don't train the device to understand what is an attack or what's not an attack. We train the device to understand how it's supposed to work. And everything that is not in the supposed to work approach is approaching a zero trust solution. So we don't trust everything that is above or under the threshold that we expecting to execute. So I will say that we have pretty decent cover. I cannot tell you 100% because there's no 100%. What I can really tell you is that we can cover you from the massive attacks. What means? Most of those embedded system runs to massive botnet or massive attacks that executing a certain vulnerability that you can find in cross devices. Those kind of attacks, we have a really, really high percentage of stop. And this is where we focus because, of course, if somebody decides to attack with the right resources, if somebody decides to attack one single device, it will succeed. Exein or not Exein. And this is just the truth. I mean, there's nothing that's reality. What we work is to making very complex and very costly for them making this. Because at the end of the day, it's like an algorithm, cost and benefit, cost and executing time to execute an attack like this.
Hi, can you talk a little bit more about the CRA and how does Exein help to solve this problem for a lot of the embedded market? Because I think this is something that has been announced not that long ago, and there is not that much time left. So if you can just comment on...
Okay, so honest opinion on CRA, it's a very bad written law, really big time bad written law. Hopefully nobody from the European Commission here. Yeah, okay, seems no. So the CRA work started in September 2022, so very long time ago. And of course, like every European regulation, it was really poorly communicated to the market. So the market will have to comply to specific regulation that until 2 months ago were not even fixed. So this is very strange, you know. So let's summarize the key pillars of the CRA. So CRA actually has 3 key pillars. First of all, which is the hardest, it will have 3 categories of devices. So devices that will be under self-assessment, devices that will require third-party authorization, and devices that will only require a third-party authorization. So like memories, like chip, like others. And another big problem with the CRA is that it mixed stuff together. In the same regulation, you have video games and you have IoT devices. So how Exein do this? We basically tackle all of the notification period that you have, because when you get an attack, you have to, or if you have a vulnerability inside your device, you have to send a notification to the authorities, which be the local authorities and the ENISA, the European one authorities. We do automatically this, so you don't have to do physically call and or send the report. Secondly, we track the bill of material in time of your device. So sometimes when you deploy a device, it may be secure today, which will be not exactly secure tomorrow because a new vulnerability will be shown and others. Third one, patching solution. The problem with the CRA and why I think it's a little bit not let's say, let's be nice, not built by people who run this market, is that they don't realize that you cannot, especially on device, you cannot patch anything, and you cannot constantly release the firmware. So what we do, we have a constantly patching system and a fixing system that actually we create security policy to avoid that the solution that you are executing may have a problem, and we try to give you more time to adapt rather than you constantly patching the system. I think they made me like this. I don't know if they want to kill me or just time out, you know.
Hopefully not. We still need you.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you,
your
Daniele.
questions. Thank you.